Bungie and Activision have decided to separate, and Bungie will retain the rights to Destiny going forward. This is big news. I don't think I've heard of this happening very often, maybe with the Hitman franchise, but immediate reactions. I think this is going to be good for the future of Destiny. How do you feel about this as a whole concept?
It's still we just heard about it literally about 5 minutes ago. We saw it on Twitter. I think there's a lot of questions. Number one, people have questions for the franchise itself. Was it Bungie or Activision initiated? I think, will we know those details in the immediate future? 100%. Probably we won't, but for the franchise, I think people will say it's a good thing, and for the game, but we'll see how it plays out. There's a lot of details here we need to sort out.
I've never been more excited about the future of Destiny, knowing that Bungie is going to be retaining the franchise. Steven, what are your thoughts?
This is huge. Like, Bungie's, technically they're an indie dev now, right?
Yes, technically.
For the size, no, but
well, Jason Schreier reported that this has been in the works for years, even before Destiny 1 release, so...
Well, that there were tensions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that there were rocky relationships. So this is crazy. Like, I wonder if the whole tenure thing is still in effect now and all
Well,
that.
definitely not, right?
According to Schreier, it said, he tweeted, at today's meeting announcing the news, Bungie staff cheered loudly, can't overemphasize how happy they are, not just to get away from Activision, but to have a game that they now own completely. Imagine a Destiny free from Activision's restrictive annualized schedule. That was his most recent tweet. This is happening, like developing as we go on the show here today. Sean, what's your reaction to this?
I mean, I have lots and lots of questions and feelings about this, and I don't know that it's obviously too early to render a verdict as to whether or not this is going to be good or bad. I think there's pros and cons on both sides.
Yeah.
I think that the definitive thing that we can all take away from this is that this seems to be a very mutual thing, right? Like on the Bungie side, I think that they felt Activision was cramping their style in order it to be short. Yeah. And on the Activision side of things, I think they didn't think Bungie was doing enough or creating enough to make the money that they needed, which was reported in their earnings call that Destiny fell short. So I think both parties in this had reason to split ways, and they both found it in their best interest to split ways. This is a huge piece of news, though, because as we were talking about
industry-wide.
Like the Activision and Bungie partnership in the beginning was seismic. For the games industry, a 10-year franchise, like a huge sprawling sort of universe, potentially over multiple console generations. That was, for Destiny fans, that was huge. For games fans, that was huge. And to have these two parties now going their different ways, that's another seismic shift. And Ryan McCaffrey out there pointed, this is only, to our knowledge, happened once before, in 2007 with Bungie and Microsoft. So this is now two major publishers in the game space that Bungie has divorced themselves from.
But in that situation, real quick, because the caveat is this is a partnership where before Microsoft actually owned Bungie. So it's a little bit different in that, they're not in the sense splitting like they were from Microsoft. The rules are a little bit different.
Oh, I didn't know Microsoft owned Bungie?
Yeah.
Microsoft owned Bungie. Bungie was first party as a Halo studio for Microsoft. This is a partnership, but in terms of Microsoft was still their publisher, and Activision is still Destiny's publisher, that's similar.
So are they going to retain publishing rights? I would assume so. It seems like that seems to be working. Activision did tweet, "Thank you, Guardians. It's been an honor and a privilege to help bring the world of Destiny to life for you. Today, we're announcing plans for Bungie to assume full publishing rights and responsibilities for the Destiny franchise." I guess I just answered my own question.
Yeah, so this is interesting because this means, like, one of my big questions is, like, I have to imagine that the deal for Destiny 2 will exist until the end of Destiny 2, right? So I don't think we have to worry about Destiny 2 not being on the Blizzard launcher anymore. I don't think that that's an immediate issue, but it definitely raises questions about future content that wasn't already covered under the current deal. So potential new expansions, whatever we get for Destiny 3, obviously, those could very much be on Steam. It could be in the Epic Store.
Right.
If Bungie really wants to do the self-publish thing instead of partnering with an external publisher, they could self-publish, build their own platform. I think that they'd be the first people to tell you that their community is strong enough and engaged enough to where they could potentially do that. But we might see this pop up. It could be anywhere, right? Like, didn't Epic just snagged Ubisoft as a partnership?
Yeah, Division 2 is only on the Epic Store.
Like, what if an Epic has money flowing out every crevice of their body right now because of Fortnite.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they land Ubisoft as an exclusive partner for the Division, and then also Destiny? They're going to have that whole market cornered. Like, this is going to be such a shift in the, like, I know people, especially in our audience, like to downplay Destiny's importance to the games industry, but this is a mega franchise. This has millions and millions of players, tons of eyes on it, a thriving community of content creators and players and devs. What this franchise decides to do in the future with these newly retained rights from this split, like, it's anyone's guess. It's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they end up doing with Destiny 3, and that's one of my questions. What is going to happen with the franchise going forward? Are they going to make a Destiny 3? I would hope so. And what is going to happen with their distribution methods, like you brought up with the Epic Store? What other kind of things are you guys curious about? Just general questions.
I mean, I think overall, microtransactions, everybody thinks that
The Eververse going away.
is the Eververse going away. Now, I mean, the influence of just
We can only hope.
Activision. Well, that's what I mean. Like, but when you look at how Epic has been monetizing Fortnite, you know, could Bungie potentially make it free to play and have these other avenues in the back? Because I think before they were probably very difficult to do any of those decisions because they had to make money. Period. That was the objective. Now it's I mean, they still will need to do that, but I think they'll be able to kind of explore it and take the losses as well as the successes like on their own merits. So
Definitely. Steven, any thoughts from you?
I mean, if they made, like, it's tough for a game like Destiny to be a free-to-play game and buy cosmetics because you're grinding and you're looting for these cosmetics. That's all part of the gameplay mechanic loot. So I don't know how you could kind of support the game with just like skins and stuff like that, right? Man, like, I don't know. Like, my prediction is if they are, they're working on Destiny 3, right? That's going to get delayed, in my opinion. They're going to make it the way they want to make it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're going to keep the roadmap that they've already published.
They have. They
Steve
confirmed that.
said that, yeah.
Okay. So, and then the big DLC that usually comes after the fall, like, what is that going to be like?
So
It's going to be huge.
let's talk about that for a second, because conceptually they are no longer locked into that regular
timeline.
annual pass,
Yeah.
the cadence of House of Wolves and Dark Below and the other expansions that they've done throughout the years. They're no longer locked into that. It's their game. They can do whatever they want. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, it really comes down to what was included in the deal with Activision, right? Like, we don't actually have like an end date for that. We assume all the stuff that's in the current annual pass is under the deal, and even whatever the next big September fall release would probably be under that deal. Everything within Destiny 2, I think, is fair game to say it's part of the Activision deal, right? But after that, Destiny 3 for sure, I don't think you'll see that on the Blizzard launcher. It may be on a different platform entirely. It might be self-published. I do think you're right, Steven. I think it'll be delayed. I also want to point out that while a lot of us are expressing a positive sentiment, as creators ourselves, we fight for that idea that, like, liberate the creator, right? Like, give them creative freedom and it'll result in a better game. I do believe that, but I want to point out to the audience, like, a level-headed person, I'm putting on my producer's hat here, will recognize that this does have a drawback, right?
Yeah.
Bungie gains creative freedom and the ability to do and make
Out on the money.
Exactly. They'll lose out on the money, which means the idea that we may have to temper expectations of this idea of getting regular, new, sizable content.
I'm okay with that. I didn't like the release schedule. I thought it forced them into this pigeonhole timeline that they were forced to keep because they would have to launch it due to the Activision deal. I think this frees them up to make excellent content.
Right. But we may have to get that excellent content once a year.
At a slower cadence.
Yeah.
That's all I'm pointing out. I'm just saying, and nowhere has that been confirmed, but these are just the realities of content creation. We have this on a much smaller scale as producers of video at IGN, and a company like Bungie with millions and millions of gamers and, you know, worldwide distribution faces a different challenge, right? But that is the trade-off, which is you gain creative liberty and power over your own game. The expense is that now you're funding it, and you have to be a lot smarter and potentially a lot more focused with the amount of content you're creating and distributing.
I agree. Let's wrap this up with one final thought. I just want to know from everybody on the panel, is this good or is this bad for the game and the future of Destiny going forward? I'll start. I think it's going to be excellent, and I think Bungie's going to have new challenges, but I think overall we're going to see an improvement of the quality of life for the Destiny player base, and all those people who have been burned are probably going to have a renewed interest in what Bungie does going forward. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was interesting when you saw Bungie leave Microsoft way back when and actually get into the deal with Activision right away. I think this is what people wanted way back when. The fact that they're able to do it now, I think it'll be a good thing for the game overall moving forward.
John?
I think anytime developers are able to take control of their own IP and do it the way they want, I think that's a good thing. And in that regard, I'm excited for what the future brings. But I am also mostly cautiously optimistic because I recognize that there are a lot of drawbacks here without the support of a big publisher. So, I really hope that if it's true that, the Bungie devs were cheering when they heard this news from, the management there, then that's great. I think I'm really happy. I have a lot of questions, and the more this story develops, I think we'll be able to add more perspective.
Definitely. Steven?
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. If anything, I think people who have a sour taste of Bungie will give it a chance now.
True.
Or
maybe
sour
this
taste
is
of
the
Destiny.
reset
In the future.
that everyone was kind of looking for.
It's like people hear Activision and Destiny, they're like, oh, we're not playing that game. But that's like, oh, it's maybe we'll try it out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's what we think. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And Bungie, we'll be watching and wishing you all the best from IGN. Good luck, you guys. Thank you. That's it for this time. Until next time, Guardians out.